Nearly 190 homes are threatened by a wildfire in South Georgia, where Governor Brian Kemp went today.
He toured the Pineland Fire in Clinch County, which is the biggest fire burning in the U.S. right now. It's right next to Brantley County, where the second biggest fire in the U.S. is burning. In Clinch County, the fire has grown to more than 32,500 acres. It's 23% contained. At least 35 homes are destroyed. That fire started from a welding spark.
In Brantley County, more than 22,000 acres have burned. The fire's 32% contained. That fire started when a balloon hit a power line. In both of these fires, no one has been seriously hurt.
So here's how the fires in Clinch and Brantley counties compare to other fires we've seen here in the U.S. In terms of size, the Pineland Fire has already burned more area than the Palisades Fire. Remember that one out in California last year. One shift in the wind or humidity could erase days of work, and crews say they really cannot afford to let up.
Atlanta News First reporter Abby Casoris reports from South Georgia.
This is the moment that crews wait for, a small break in the weather. As of Tuesday afternoon, the Pineland Fire had burned more than 32,000 acres, 23% contained, but that's progress. After the fire doubled in size in 2 days, firefighters are still battling wind-driven runs, quick to catch in an exceptional drought. While the fire line inches forward, families are still living in limbo. In Eccles County, mandatory evacuations remain in effect, with 140 people evacuated so far, including some of the firefighters working the lines.
We're fighting fire, but they're facing home displacement, wondering what's going to happen next.
That's why support stations like this matter. Quick food, clean wipes, basic supplies, anything that keeps firefighters moving when they're working around the clock.
Good morning, everybody.
Georgia Governor Brian Kemp toured the damage Tuesday morning, thanking crews working right up against the flames to save homes.
The edge of the fire had burned up into their yards, and those firefighters stopped that fire and save those homes.
The state is stacking resources to keep momentum. Personnel, heavy dozers, tractor plows, engines, and helicopters, with more help coming from states like Texas, Mississippi, Colorado, and Idaho. In Brantley County, the Highway 82 fire, some residents are being allowed back in, but officials warn they may have to evacuate again if conditions change. Georgia officials have a message. Don't add another fire. There's a statewide burn ban in effect, and they need their crews and equipment to stay down here in South Georgia. In Fruitland, I'm Abby Casoris.